In this Beyond SolidWorks session, we're going to share our knowledge as we take a look beyond the core SolidWorks portfolio. And in particular, we're going to focus in on Innovia inside of the 3D Experience platform. Innovia in the 3D Experience can help you eliminate the barriers to collaboration by automating and simplifying knowledge share. Because of the intelligent links that Innovia creates and manages between your datasets, you can get away from working in functional silos and start working together. With those intelligent links in place, each of your teams, whether that's mechanical or electrical design, software, manufacturing or simulation, work from a common product definition, which can help you improve quality, reduce costs, and deliver sustainable innovation. Innovia in the 3D Experience gives you an accessible way to get started in the world of data management on an industry-leading solution. It's worth mentioning now that the 3D Experience isn't your typical PDM solution. It's an all-encompassing hub of business applications that PDM's just a small part of. With the platform, you'll have the potential to expand into other areas, all within the same solution as your business needs evolve and change over time. You'll be able to leverage your data with requirements management, project management, business analytics, simulation and production planning as just a few examples of the functionality that'll be at your fingertips. But before you can start taking advantage of all of that, what we'll focus on in this demonstration is an overview of the data management solution itself. That's the usual starting point for businesses like yourself moving to the 3D Experience. In particular, we'll take a look at document management, where we'll cover life cycles, checking in and out of files, version and revision control, inbuilt viewers, and the where used functionality. We'll then have a look at CAD management, where we'll focus on the SolidWorks integration, and then we'll see how approving and releasing data is done in the platform with routings and workflows, or alternatively, formal change management. Having touched on formal change, we'll then put that into context to show how changes can be used to resolve issues that users can raise in the platform too. We'll also show how the platform manages bill of materials with its unified product structure methodology. And then last up, there's some ancillary collaboration functionality in the platform that we'll run through as well. Okay, so let's get started. Inside the platform, you access all of the distinct pieces of functionality as applications and widgets. You get to these by clicking the 3D Experience compass in the top left corner of the window. If you select an app, it'll open up in its own tab in the browser. But you can drag and drop widgets, which are differentiated by this little arrow, onto custom dashboards to configure the user interface that suits you best. The first widget that we're going to take a look at is the document management widget. The document management widget gives you all the functionality you'd expect when it comes to document creation inside the platform. You have the option to simply click the new document icon, where you specify your document's title and description, and then drag and drop the associated file into place. Or you can drag and drop the file directly into the widget, where the document's title is transposed from the file name. You can drop any type of file you like against the document that you're creating, whether that's a Word document, a PowerPoint, a video, a graphics file, or a zip folder. Whatever you need to store against the document, then the platform can handle it. So having created the new document, you'll have visibility of it alongside every other document that you've got access to that's managed in the platform. Now that's a bit different to your usual user interface, like you'd find in Windows Explorer for example, as everything's in one place rather than being broken down into folders. The reason for that is you're able to use the platform's comprehensive search functionality to filter down the list to find exactly what you're after. You can search for a specific term as you'd expect, but you're also able to filter by tags, things like maturity state of the document, the owner, or even by modification date. Now this is very much a data-driven Google-esque way of working. However, if you'd rather adopt a more conventional approach of organising your data into folders and subfolders, then you've also got the bookmark editor widget. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but first let's select our document. That'll open up the viewer where we get a preview of what we're working with. You can also have a look at the document's lifecycle, assess all the document's properties as you'd expect, like revision number and modification date, and then you can delve into the document's relations. So setting this to where used lets you see the bookmarks that this document's associated to. So these bookmarks can be opened in the bookmark editor widget by selecting it from the compass like before, or you can select the bookmark itself and open it directly in its associated widget. Now you're probably already wondering why it's referred to as a bookmark opposed to a folder. Well, the reason is the document won't actually live within the bookmark. It's only a link to it in the same way that you'd bookmark a web page. What that means is that your document has the potential to be found in whatever bookmark you need it to be in. And if you were to edit it in one of those bookmarks, the edits reflect in every other bookmark that the document's found in. Basically, it prevents the need to duplicate or copy data between what you'd conventionally consider to be a folder, so you're guaranteed to always be working on the most up-to-date and current data. With that in mind, you're able to specify certain bookmarks as favourites to speed up finding them. Once there, you can make sub-bookmarks, as you would with subfolders, to create a bookmark structure or hierarchy as well. By right-clicking over the document itself that you're looking to work on and selecting Edit, you can check out or reserve that document, meaning it's locked to you and so no one else can work on it. When you've finished making your edits, you simply save it back to the platform or check it in and a new version of the document's captured and recorded, which is pretty much industry standard document management functionality. So that's the two widgets that you can manage documents in. But as you can probably tell, the 3D Experience likes to give you options of how to do things so it's easier to accommodate whatever your working preferences are. That leads on to another way of doing things, which is using the Microsoft integration to access your bookmarks. In Explorer, you'll find a Collaboration for Microsoft icon in your devices and drives. This lets you access your bookmarks in a way totally aligned to the norm. Bookmarks appear as folders, and then with a document selected, you're able to see all its associated attributes, revisions and versions. The Collaboration for Microsoft extends beyond just Explorer. You'll also find integrations for all of the Microsoft suite, including Word, Excel and Microsoft Project, but today we're just focusing on the Explorer integration. So, if you really want to interrogate the history of any of these documents, then you can open up the file in the browser. Clicking this icon will open the document in the Collaborations and Approvals app in the platform. Here you'll be able to see any approvals the document's associated to, its versions and revisions, any associated issues, classifications, and a full traceable history of every transaction the document object has been involved with. Okay, let's jump back to our bookmark editor widget that we've added to our custom dashboard. So far, we've exclusively talked about bookmarks being used to organise documents, but as you'd probably guessed, these can be used for CAD as well. In this bookmark, you'll be able to see something we've got linked in here called Complete Pump Assembly. When we scroll across to see what the object type is, we can see that it's a physical product. Now this is actually a SOLIDWORKS assembly that we've checked into the platform. What the platform's then done though is add it to a physical product object for a few reasons. The first is that the 3D Experience is considered a multi-CAD solution. That means that regardless of the type of CAD you check into the platform, it'll put it inside of one of these universal CAD objects. By doing that, it means that you're then able to leverage the CAD, whatever it is, in lots of different ways. That includes making multi-CAD product structures, where you can combine SOLIDWORKS with CATIA, Altium eCAD, or software for instance, all in one place. If we want to preview a document or some CAD in our bookmark, we can add one of the viewer widgets, like 3D Play, to the dashboard as well. The viewer handles documents or CAD, and with CAD you can turn the visibility of parts within an assembly on and off, explode the view, take measurements or cross sections, and even add annotations. But what we'll do now is open this CAD directly in our native CAD solution, which in this case is SOLIDWORKS. Once the assembly's opened up, you'll notice a new 3D Experience task pane that you're able to select. From here you can navigate to the compass and select apps that you can use alongside your CAD. But in this case, what we're going to look at is the CAD data that you have open in this session. So with the assembly structure you've got opened, you've got access to a menu that offers you all the platform-based actions. Things like saving back to the platform rather than saving locally, reserving or locking a part or assembly to yourself to stop other people working on it when you're making changes. You can replace elements in the hierarchy with different revisions you have stored in the platform. You can view the maturity state of any selected part, and then as you'd expect, you're able to create new revisions, branches, or new revisions derived from branches. The status column against each assembly and part in the hierarchy also gives a clear indication of whether any updates made locally are synchronized back to the platform. the green tick showing it's up to date, whereas the yellow save icon shows that the file's been modified in your current session. One smart bit of functionality that you can use straight out of the 3D Experience task pane is using the platform's search functionality to find additional parts or assemblies to add to your session. Using a search term will return everything in the platform that meets that criteria, which won't exclusively be CAD. So what you can then do is filter these search results as we've seen before with the platform's tags. Then it's just a matter of dragging and dropping it into your window and mating it into your structure like any other part. If you want to save any changes you've made back to the server, you click Save or Save with Options. Save with Options allows you to reserve any modified files to your user, which you'll need to do to propagate any changes back to the platform. You can specify a bookmark which you'd like your CAD to reside in, and you can create a new revision too. Now this is where your major and minor revisioning comes in. If the maturity state of the CAD you're revising is in a released state, then when you create a new revision, a new major revision will be created and reverted back to the in-work lifecycle state. So A at release state, if revised, would become B at the in-work state. However, if you want to create a minor revision, sometimes referred to as a version or a secondary revision, then the maturity state of the CAD you're revising would be in the in-work state. This would turn your A-1 revision at the in-work state to an A-2 revision at in-work state as well. The reason for doing this, opposed to automatically applying a new minor revision on every save, is because if you don't do that, you can end up needlessly eating through your storage capacity, especially if you're working on big and complex assemblies. This methodology gives you the option to retain the important steps along the history of your changes you make to your CAD, opposed to a rule enforcing a minor revision being captured every time you click Save. You also get the option to save a comment against the revision to help clarify any changes you've made that you'll be able to see in the revision history. And you can release any reservations you have on the hierarchy on the save here as well. With the CAD synchronized back to the platform, what we can now look at is how you promote those parts through their life cycle. So you'll see at the moment they're at the in-work maturity state. To get them to the release state, as with most things in the platform, there's a few different options you have available to you so you can match everything to your existing release process. So with that in mind, we'll now take a look at the first and simplest option of how we'd go about promoting a part in this structure. We simply select the part, go down to the lifecycle menu and click Release. Simple enough. And the user account of the person that's logged into the platform who clicks Release is recorded as the promoter in the part's history. Now the next option is pretty similar, but there's one notable difference. When the user clicks Promote, what we can do is enforce an approval routing or workflow on the transition between lifecycle states. For this, what we first need to do is define the routing itself. We can do this with the Route Management widget. Here you'll be able to create a new routing or revisit routes that you're the owner of. Once you've opened up your routing, defining the steps is easily done by clicking the plus icon to add a task. You can add parallel or serial tasks, assign users to them or user groups, which you can define in the user groups widget. You can apply any or all conditions for parallel tasks, and then you can define the task name, expected actions, instructions, and whether or not to allow delegation. When a route's actually underway, the first tasks in the routing are issued to the assigned users inside of the platform, and they're able to update and complete them from the Collaborative Tasks widget. You either click on the task and update the details, or you can drag and drop the task between statuses. When one task is complete, the next task in the approval routing is issued. With your route defined, you'll then be able to clone it into a route template from the Collaboration and Approvals app. That means you'll then be able to use your defined route as many times as you need. To open the route in the Collaboration and Approvals app, what we can do is search for the route name. You then filter the results by routings, select the tick box next to the route and pick the app from the compass. With the app open, all you have to do is click Save as Template. With that, you'll then have to fill in some details around the context of the routing, things like its name, description, and importantly, its availability. And what we mean by availability is who can use the route, like a specific named user, user group, or the whole business, or alternatively, what context the route's available in, like a specific bookmark or project. So that's options 1 and 2, and that's what most people would consider to be the less stringent release mechanisms in the platform. The last option is if you want to release your data through formal change management. Formal change management means you create a new object in the platform that handles the release of the data on your behalf. That object's referred to in the platform as a change action, and we create and manage those directly in the change action widget. From the widget, you'll have the visibility of all your active changes, which are the changes you have that are in the in work or in approval lifecycle state, and your inactive changes too, which are historically completed or rejected changes. You can quickly make a new change action by clicking the plus icon. With the change action open, you then add any proposed changes that you want the change action to address. So here we have the option of specifying whether we'd like the change action to promote the object to release state, or whether we just want to modify the associated object. So we'll specify change maturity to released. You'll also see a Realize Change tab here. That's pretty similar to the Proposed Changes tab, but it will only become live once the change is at a complete state. And as you'd expect, it'll state that the associated object is actually at release state too. What we can then do is go to the Members tab to define who will approve the change. As we've seen before, we can select a person, a user group, or we can apply one of our route templates that we've defined before. With that all set up, we can push the change to the in-work state. This is where the change would be carried out by the assignee, who we can also assign from the Members tab. Once they've made their change, they'd promote the object they're working on to the frozen maturity state. And with that done, we can then initiate the approval of the change, where tasks will be issued to all the people we've specified. As they complete off those tasks, the change action will be promoted through its lifecycle to the completed state, and the associated object is subsequently promoted through its lifecycle state from frozen to in approval and finally to released. As you can see, this methodology for releasing data gives you the most traceability. With the change action, you're documenting the purpose of what you're intending to do, you're associating the impacted object, whether that's CAD, document or whatever, and then you're seeing the change intent realized. Everything's digitally linked and a strong auditable digital thread is created for the whole process. Picking which data release methodology to work with is entirely down to you, but hopefully that gives you an impression of the flexibility of the platform to align to your existing processes. Issue management is a bit of functionality that works hand in hand with change management. Every user in the platform can raise issues if they have concerns with a piece of data. They can do this in the Issue Management widget, where you can see all the issue-specific properties used to manage an issue through its lifecycle, similar to what we've seen with other objects in the platform. What's more, as we've said, you report issues against other objects you have in the platform. These are what you'd see in the Related Objects tab of the issue. If the object you're reporting against is CAD, then the Issue 3D Review widget lets you identify where exactly on the CAD your issue is, There's also a Resolved By field here too, and that's where we can connect a change action intended to resolve an issue to the issue itself. If the change action's already been made, then you could search for it and drag and drop it into the field, or alternatively, you're able to create a new resolving change action directly from the Issue Management widget. So these changes, as you can see, can be used to resolve issues, but changes can also be used to release parts within your assembly. The best way to visualize what's been released within your design is with the Engineering Release app. The app creates a product structure driven by your CAD, but you can add other engineering items, consumable materials, documents and drawings to this structure too, as well as configurations. Configurations like this are driven by matrix or expression rules that you define, and then they can be applied to your product structure as a filter. That means you can have every option and variant in a single master structure, which you might hear referred to as a 150% resolved BOM. And then you filter that structure down to reflect the application you need it for. You're then able to view the filtered down product structure directly in the 3D Experiences Viewer apps. So that's a quick overview of Innovia's data management functionality in the platform. What we'll now take a look at is some of the more ancillary functionality that you get in the platform as standard, that's designed to help you communicate and collaborate with the people in your business. To access this, you can go over to the Communities icon in the toolbar. Here you'll have two tabs to look through. The one we'll look at first is Conversations. This is the platform's inbuilt instant messaging tool. You're able to start conversations with anyone you're connected to, host meetings with up to 14 different connections, and you can audio call, video call, and share screen as you'd expect. Platform conversations are stored in the platform as any other object, so you can search through these and add them to favourites for quick reference as well. The Communities tab is a little different. It allows you to create user communities that have access to a community wall. The wall lets users communicate in a way akin to social media. You can post standard posts, media, simple tasks referred to as we-dos, ideas that are managed in an ideas funnel, ask questions, publish wiki pages, and promote surveys to the community as well. All of this content can be liked and commented on by community users, so you can gauge how well a post has been received. And in the instance of idea posts, their icon will actually appear larger in the ideas funnel, dependent on how many likes the idea has received from the community. So hopefully that's given you an insight into the functionality that you have available to you from a PDM perspective, moving to the 3D experience. But what you need to remember is that the big differentiator with the platform is that you have the potential to leverage all of this data to a huge amount of other business applications and widgets that are hosted inside of the 3D experience. Whatever your business requirements are for a new process or a bit of functionality in the future, then the wealth of functionality available directly inside of the platform is sure to be able to address it. If you want to find out more about what the platform could do for you and your business, then don't hesitate to get in touch. Of course, you're welcome to get in contact directly with myself or my colleague John, and we'll do our best to get answers back to you for any questions you've got. Thanks for listening.